Welcome, welcome. I am Pastor Undena, and you're with Pastor Undena today here in New Jersey. We're on set in New Jersey, and we're taping Passing On The Mantle with Pastor Undena, keeping the foundation and doctrines of the church. And my guest today is none other. I'm going to start with all of her titles. She went from Lady Williams, First Lady Williams, to now Co-Pastor Williams, to Pastor Williams, and now soon to be Overseer Alexis J. Williams. So I said that purposely because people have to know that you just did not come on the scene. Like, you have worked your rank all the way through in the kingdom of God in various capacities.
True.
From being at your dad's church, Bishop Knight, years ago, growing up in church, to now being the mother of newly elect Pastor Alex L. Williams, Alex Lamont Williams. Institutional, 170 Delphi, Brooklyn, New York, representing. And we're talking about some very crucial things because we wanted to also honor women and women in the Bible and the various things that women have faced and are facing in the church. So with what we're talking about today is the First Lady versus the elect lady.
Wow.
Now, since I know, Percy, that you have been on both sides of this spectrum, who else with great wisdom than you to be able to address this issue? So especially, I know that you at one time had a women's group that you met with a lot of first ladies across the country, and you also would get together in all your women's groups and your young girls mentoring. So what is this thing that now, this greater obsession, if you will, that these young girls coming up today have about being the first lady and what it means to what they're seeing and the responsibilities versus being the elect lady?
Wow, that's a lot.
Okay,
it's a lot, but you know what? Something you said is so important. Today, I don't know why these young ladies coming up today, everybody wants to be a first lady. But the first lady, they look at it as being just a glamorous position. And it's not glamorous.
It's not.
You know, a first lady, first of all, what is a first lady? What's an elect lady? First lady is one who, first of all, covers her husband as the pastor. That's how we became, I would say that's how we got the title of a first lady.
Okay, so church basically gave it to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Because when you read the Bible, biblically, there's no such thing.
Right.
Okay? There's no such thing as the first lady. And I think what happens is we look at it as the President of the United States. That's where it all stemmed from, because you have a president, so you have the wife, who is the first lady. So I basically think that's where it flowed from.
Okay.
You look at First Lady Obama, First Lady Melania now, and First Lady Barbara Bush, all the first ladies. So now the church calls us first ladies. With the first ladies in the church, it's more of responsibilities than just running a church. Right. Just like they have to run the country, we cover our husbands. We cover our husbands who's the pastors of the church. First of all, we cover them in prayer.
Right.
It is so vital. So when these young girls want to be first ladies, it's not about the big hat that you see us wear, and some who wear the lace gloves, not me, but for some who wear the lace gloves, and all the bling bling, the rhinestone. So I think that's why the young ladies are so attractive to this, because they look at the glamour of it all. But it's work.
Much work.
For some first ladies, it's work. Now, there are other first ladies, it's not work.
Right.
I can speak for myself. When it comes to a first lady work in the ministry. Besides us covering our husband, praying for him, being there, when we become one, it connects us in ministry. I've heard first ladies say, listen, God called my husband, he didn't call me to this.
Right.
But technically speaking, if you're husband and wife in ministry, you're called too, not to be the pastor, but you're now his partner in ministry. These young girls have no clue what they're asking for.
I have heard seasoned women say, I'm not the first lady, I'm just the one that's married to the preacher. You know, I'm married to the bishop, I'm married to the pastor, and my role is just as any other member that comes to church. I don't want that title. I don't need to sit on the first row. I don't need to have that honoring. So is it a false sense of imagery that we're perpetrating in the church concerning the first lady, or is there really a place in the divine call between the first lady and the elect lady?
Well, I think there's a divine calling. There are some first ladies who's not a first row person. I have a lot of friends who are first ladies. They work in the background. But guess what? They're called to do this. Okay. Now, when we talk about first lady, elect lady, and elect means that you're chosen. So everybody's not chosen to
because
be.
some of us are seconds and thirds, just like it was stated
Oh,
before.
my Lord.
So you
Yes.
can't say, let's define
Yes,
that.
that's right.
Let's
That's
define
right.
that.
So when we talk about the first lady and the elect ladies are chosen, which is basically the first lady. But everybody have not been chosen for this position. When I first met my husband, never thought he will be the senior pastor. When I saw the things my mom went through, she was the first lady for over 60 years. I thought it was devastating.
Right.
And I said, I would never be a first lady. My mama didn't have, I should say I didn't have my mama's spirit at the time. I'm more calm now. But in the very beginning, I didn't understand. And my mother was so soft-spoken, and I've seen people do things to her that broke our heart as children. And I kept saying, Ma, just let us punch them. Let us do this. And she says, no, that's not how we supposed to be. And I learned as I got older, even sitting in clergy wives classes in the Church of God in Christ. My mom was the president, so I learned how to be a first lady. There are some first ladies who don't sit on the first row, but guess what? They work in the background, but there's still a divine calling on their life, because once your husband become a pastor, it's an honorable position to be a first lady. I had no clue. I actually went for training to be in the Women's Marines.
Really?
I did. I wanted to be, my little bumper stickers, be a woman Marine in training, yes. And I really wanted to go into the service, but it took a wise woman, my mom, who said the Lord told her that wasn't my place. The Lord said, do not go. And of course, I think she was being very overprotected too, because back in the day, we didn't say what, huh? We just said, yes, ma'am. And I am so glad I listened to her, because God knew I was just chosen for this. So it was just my divine calling that I become the pastor's wife.
So now, watching what your mom went through, being married to the bishop,
Lord, yes.
the sacrifices she made, do you think that she took less than what she deserved in her lifetime to be who she is? Or did she actually know who she is and she brought that to the table and to the ministry?
I think that my mom wasn't this aggressive person. She was just, back then, I guess when it comes to my dad and the old timers, the woman was silent in the church.
Right.
Now, they literally took that scripture to be just
literally
that. So she knew who she was, but at the same time, she sacrificed everything. She gave up everything. And really, I'm going to tell you, that is the job of a first lady, to sacrifice, because your husband have to sacrifice. My husband have paid rent for some of his members. We gave up things to be a blessing to the church where the church was lacking. So we had to give up. So I think with my mom, she had to sacrifice a whole lot, to be the first lady.
And was she satisfied with that?
I think she was content with it, because
she
understood, but my dad yet balanced his home.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay.
There you go. He balanced his home. So even though he gave to the church, his home didn't lack. And that's how my home is. We gave up, but then we learned to balance the home.
So now fast forward. You're now married for 30 plus years.
30 plus.
To the great, wonderful Bishop Carl E. Williams Jr. Mr. Institution, Mr. Radio Choir, who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Right, who would have thought? So now, let's go from this perspective. You see this man.
Yes.
Traveling the country, singing the gospel. He wasn't a preacher necessarily.
He wasn't.
It was under the umbrella, but he was like, I'm gonna do my music thing.
Yeah.
You all meet, you date, you engage, boom, he becomes a pastor. You, on the other hand, you're like, I love this man, but I'm not prepared per se to walk into the footsteps of being married to the pastor. So now the transitions that you're making, because your mind is set on something else. We're going to get married, we're going to live long and healthy, and we're going to be good together, ride or die it out. However, now the Lord says, press pause, I have something else for you to do. You're going to be now the first lady or the elect lady this ministry. So now you're coming into a work that was already established, and you're having to fit yourself in where you're fitted.
Where I
So,
fitted.
how did you make that transition and did accept that responsibility?
Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because institutional it's a very prominent church. So it has a name. It's the historical church, and everyone knew of Mother Williams. Mother Alvonia Williams, the voice on the radio. So
Sunday
was I
night
nervous?
broadcast.
Yes, I was so nervous because of the fact, and I'm going to be very transparent because I believe it can help someone.
Yes.
But because my husband remarried.
Okay.
Okay, I was the second wife.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and if I could say this, because people say, well, you were the second wife, the second first lady. I said, no, I'm the second wife, but I was the first lady.
Right.
Okay, but it was very hard to come there, I guess you could say, through that transition because everybody in the world knew Mother Williams.
Right.
So I'm like, how in the world am I going to be a first lady at institutional? I was so nervous. I had crying days. The first year, I'm telling you, some of my members know, the first year, I packed my boxes. I got a box and packed my things and said, I'm out. Because the people didn't accept me at first.
Okay.
And it was this girl from Jersey that married Carl Williams.
Married Brooklyn.
Yes. I'm not from Brooklyn. And it was very difficult to come there. And I had to learn that I would never be able to wear her shoes or fit her shoes. And I think that's where we go wrong in our position when God have chosen us for a certain position. We think that, let me change that, it's not a position, it's a calling.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we try to fit the shoes of those individuals, who came before us. And it's so important that we just be who we are.
Now, what about those situations where, okay, I can speak for myself. I'm the second wife. But my husband's first wife is deceased. So there's no one ever, if you will, that I would ever have to compete with, if it be so. Because we know how church people can put you in that box to, if there is a divorce situation, or even if it wasn't a divorce situation and the wife dies, but she was just the epitome of womanhood to them.
Yes.
She did everything right and perfect. Now you have this other woman who's coming in and you're trying to measure this second wife compared to the first wife.
Compared to the first one.
Is she going to be the same? Is everything going to stay the same? What is she about? And all the mystical questions that come up that people are looking for you to do or to become. How did you really feel like, I know who Alexis is. And now I know I have to know who First Lady Williams is going to be in order to be able to marry both sides of your life and still fit in with the congregation.
It wasn't easy. It was not easy. Thank God for the training that I had. I had a good example. My mom was a first lady.
Right.
And she was a first lady over 60 years. So I had a great mentor to really teach me how to be myself first.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of women have to do. You have to identify, okay, who am I? Do you know who you really are? Before you even became a first lady.
Right.
But I was so confident in myself. I had a lot of confidence in myself. I was very positive. I wasn't trying to compare myself with Mother Williams, but of course the people were trying to say, well, listen, they were judging me. She's not like Mother Williams. And I've heard people say this because they said it loud enough for me.
For you to hear it.
Well, Mother Williams going to always be my first lady. And it was okay because she did it for so many years. So I understood who she was.
Right.
She was a great woman. So many first ladies today came from under her teaching.
Yes.
So at first it used to really bother me. I was hurt, but I tried not to be like her.
Right.
I patterned the good virtues from her, but there was no way in the world I can be not Alvonia Williams.
Right.
Because she is who she is. And I thank God today she's yet living.
Yes,
She
honey.
spoke last week at the service. And so many lives were touched by my mother-in-law. But I had to walk into my calling and be who God have called me to be. So it was easy for me to do. It wasn't easy for me to accept the criticism.
Right.
But because I just prayed, my mother taught me, listen, pray, don't fight, don't say nothing. So I didn't say anything. But I had to just honor who God called me to be, and that's how I made it.
Now that's your spiritual life. How do you become the wife to Carl Williams at home?
At home. Well, him and I talked about separation. We never wanted to bring the church into our home. Now, what I mean by that is we did discuss things at home regarding the ministry, but when we got home, I was Alexis. I was his wife. He was Carl. That was my husband. I did not call him Bishop Williams. He did not call me First Lady Williams. So I knew how to make the separation because then we were husband and wife. So there was a whole lot of stuff that wasn't spiritual involved, but biblically.
Right.
So you got me on that. So I just knew how to separate. I was a good wife to him, and I honored the vows. So once you honor the vows and once you do what you have to do as wife, and I just loved being married.
Because I laugh sometimes. People say, like, where'd you come from? I've been around this for many years.
Yeah.
And people think now just because of, passing on the mantle, like I'm the new kid on the block. I'm not.
No.
And I look at it this way. I've been afforded the opportunity to sit at the table of some really great men and women of God. But there are times that I have to chuckle within myself when I hear the wife calling, oh, well, Bishop, baby, that he's not bishop at home. When that trash needs to be taken out, or those dishes need to be washed. Y'all
Would you get in here and wash these?
Exactly. You're not saying, well, First Lady, can you come wash the dishes, please? Or Bishop, the garbage need to go out. Come on. So how the realness of being who you are at church doesn't make you any lesser. It just transitions you to another person in your natural being at home as a wife.
Right.
So now I think that we're living in a time where people are so, goo gaga over the titles, but they don't realize the divorce rate is just as high in the church as it is in the world.
It sure is.
Because when you got to go home and you have to deal with one another's nasty personalities, because all the dating now is over.
After 10 years.
All of the stuff, girl, I'm on number 8 this year. So after all the fluffy stuff is over, the cutesy stuff is over, you leaving your underwear in the middle of the floor, your socks is over here on the other side. The things that aggravate you the most now, the things that are taking you outside of your boundary.
Well, you know what? I think everybody's different. My folks probably laugh at me because Bishop didn't leave his socks. Bishop did not leave his underwear. Only because in the very beginning, we said this is how it is. Okay. So you have to lay things out day one. I got to learn him, and he got to learn me. My likes and my dislikes. Now, in the very, very beginning of my marriage, I did say, get the soap out the tub after you take a shower. Right. Why is that soap down there? How come the washcloth? My father said to me one day, listen, let him be the king of his castle, and he'll make you the queen of the castle. Oh, yes. Let him drop his soap, and you pick it up. Let him drop his washcloth, and you just hang it, and he'll start learning how you are.
So now we're moving into the elect lady. Now, who is she?
Who is she? Can let me say one thing, going back to a little bit to what you just said. When my husband and I got married in the beginning, and this can help somebody, that we didn't have a perfect marriage. We had a lot of misunderstandings. There was a lot of accusations. There was so much where one time we did split up. Really? Oh, everybody's listening saying Bishop. And yeah, at the beginning.
Because I always saw y'all was all cute and everything.
But listen, when you live, there's 2 personalities.
Say that again.
There are 2 personalities in a household. But what made us, and people didn't even know we split up.
And 2 persons at church, too.
We didn't even split up like a week and all like that. I think I put my husband out, and he slept at the church for 2 days. So what happened was third parties. It was a third party that caused it because we didn't have an understanding of marriage. We didn't have an understanding of the marriage, the vows that we took. We allowed a third party, and that's what I say to couples today. Don't allow third parties to get in your mix. Yes. Not even your mother. Right. Not even your mother-in-law. I don't care who it is. Family can destroy a marriage.
I know Pastor Alex and I were talking about the millennial church. So we were talking about the ripped jeans and stuff. And I actually had a guy post on our page saying, well, I just think this is all vanity. And I'm trying to understand, well, sir, what is vain about what we're discussing? Because this is the culture of now. It's the culture of now. So they didn't understand. We couldn't wear red lipstick before. No. We couldn't wear the red nail polish before. They considered that ungodly and unholy. Right. You know, they consider it unholy. And so I had to explain to him on why we were having that discussion and why it's relevant to now in church. But in the same token, I don't understand what's going on with this new generation and anything that everything goes. And we're supposed to say it's okay,
Right.
you know, or you're acting as if you're doing God a favor by coming to church. So as the women of the church that know better, that are seasoned, why are we not taking these young girls aside and saying, sweetie, just even on a day-to-day basis, business attire, you want to be respected, you don't want men catcalling you and all that kind of stuff. You want to be honorable unto yourself.
Right.
Let me take you aside and teach you what you need to do.
I think today it's a total different day today. First of all, we were very respectful. We came up. We didn't talk back. We respected the old members. We respected leadership.
Right.
They don't respect leadership today. Okay, unfortunately, it's that way. The mothers are afraid. Now, I know some of my mothers told me they don't want to say anything because they don't want them telling them off because we didn't tell them off. If they correct, our parents gave them permission to say and whip our behinds, okay? But today is a day where they're really afraid. I'm not afraid to discipline. I'm not afraid to bring correction because I'm different than the mothers. I think the mothers today, the older mothers, are afraid of their life. I've heard, one of the mothers told me, oh, you know, because I don't want to get outside and they hurt me.
Wow.
It's not because they don't know how to do it, but that's why I believe they have fear. And I believe that's why God is raising us up. You and I have to take these ladies to the side. Now, I have I have a fellowship called the Young Women of Worth Fellowship. In this fellowship, we train the girls. We teach them. We take time. They make mistakes, like others have made mistakes. But you can't just kick them to the curb and say, listen, you had a baby out of wedlock, but you have to take them and love them. And it's our job to do that. But I think with some of the mothers, they are afraid to do it because they won't have the same respect they did back in the day.
I get it. I understand it.
But you're like, they still have a responsibility.
Yes, it's in some way, even if it's learning how to say it and I only say that because this generation is almost like they are born into, rejection, abandonment, and abuse.
They are.
So when they come to church, it's already they're wearing this stuff on their shoulder, so they do not know how to acclimate themselves to a church environment. So now if I'm already coming to church and then I'm seeing something that, she may say, well, I should have put on the slip. Well, why do I have to put on the slip? No one It's the aggression that's already in them that I think that we need to deal with first and then kind of navigate our way. Because, there's some church mothers that can be nasty.
Oh, yes.
So if you're that one, then no, you don't need to say anything. You just say to somebody else and say, sweetie, can you do me a favor? I see her slip is hanging. Can you go tell her, let's help. So how can we build those bridges between the older, our demographic, and these younger ones, because we have to make sure that these younger women are respected. It doesn't make sense for you to come to church and you going out and you're leaving the church house and you're really not sure what side of the fence you're going to be on, and you're having this internal struggle between righteousness and ungodliness, but you want to be righteous, but you don't know how, and then when you're coming into church, you're seeing all this falsehood imagery. How are we going to make this happen?
Well, I think that today, like I notice in our ministry now, my son have changed the culture.
Yes, absolutely, a lot.
And he already told me, he said, well, I thought you would be the one that would be the one hard to adjust to the change of culture.
Wow.
Now, remember coming up, most of the things that we were taught is tradition.
Right.
Has nothing to do with the Bible.
Right.
I believe in modest attire. I believe in modesty. I believe in what the word of the Lord talk about. But a lot of things is tradition. And when I got to really learn the word of God, I said, wow, it is tradition. I'm not going to hell.
Right. If I put on some lipstick.
If I put on a little makeup, but be modest. So I started teaching the young ladies. Now there's, a couple of older women that are now teaching these young ladies that I appoint.
Okay.
Because some of the mothers can be a little hard because they're from old school. So they're going to be hard. I don't want to say not nice.
Right.
You said nasty, but I just think that they are set in their ways, and they are going to be who they are.
Okay.
But I've learned now, I would never wear pants on a Thursday night. Now, I had on a pair last Thursday. Now, I probably would never wear them on a Sunday. That's just me. But I'm pulling the young ladies in now to say there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
You know, especially those new ones, the new people that's coming in. You can't tell them they can't wear this, they can't do that, because they don't even know church.
But see, then my thing is, and I say this to the young people that, you know, at Power, Praise, and Deliverance, if you take the time to go buy a dress to go to the club, you can take the time, if you want to buy a dress to come to church.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they have to come any old kind of way. I believe in maintaining a standard and then maintaining a standard of holiness. Now, I believe in that. We're not kicking that to the curb, you know. But I believe that we have to take time with them. Now, suppose they don't have money. We cannot criticize these young ladies if they don't have the money to buy a skirt.
So now, is that with a church to come in?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Because I have taken young ladies and I brought them a skirt and I brought them a dress. But you can't tell them, don't wear this, don't wear that, if you're not going to accommodate them.
Now, we have done that. My husband and I, God knows, we have, from prom dresses to regular stuff. You have to in order for them to see who you are, especially where we are, because all they've ever seen is what's being portrayed on TV.
Right.
And everything is, you know, either you trying to get with a baller, trying to get with somebody in the entertainment industry, you want to be a baby mama, and you want to do that. And now you're bringing that into the church house, and the church's voice is silent because you're too afraid to say something against it because you're afraid of backlash.
Right.
Now, that doesn't make good, because as soon as something happens, you'll be the first one to talk about it too.
Right, that's true.
And now this person gets broken, then you want to label it church hurt. And it's not the church that hurt you, it's the people in the church that hurt you. And so if we're not able to help them understand, first of all, everybody that does come to church is not saved.
Right.
And so everybody that's here, we're all coming for the same thing. But if you have on something and someone has a spirit of lust on them, they're looking at what you're wearing. And you've already passed 5 mirrors in your house, and you knew if you had to pull it down too often, you shouldn't wear it anyway.
Right.
So we have to, I believe, have to wake up the consciousness of our young ladies and our young men. I want y'all to pull your pants down. I want you to get your size that you have to get, and I want you to wear something decent and holy.
Oh, yes. I'm going to go there. Now, I'm going to correct it. Okay. Now, I have told somebody not long ago about their jeans.
Yes.
And I said, because you're healthy, you don't need to be wearing those jeans on a Sunday morning. So, you know, there is a standard that we maintain. You know, I don't want anybody to get it twisted. Those who are listening, don't get it twisted.
Don't get it misunderstood.
No, don't get it misunderstanding. We still teach holiness. We still teach the standard. There's a standard in the house.
Yes.
Because if your dress or skirt is too tight, and you've been coming to church and you know the way, I'm coming to you.
All right.
And I'm coming to you in love.
In love.
And if you don't have it, I'm going to buy it for you. Okay?
All right. Listen. Pastor Alexis, Lady Alexis, Elect Lady, Overseer Williams. We want to say thank you so much. I want you to stay tuned for more Passing on the Mantle with Pastor Undena.